Have you ever thought about what your life will actually look like at 80? It's not easy to imagine, but speak to any 80-year-old and they'll tell you they got there in a flash. And have you not noticed that there are 80-year-olds and then there are 80-year-olds? Some of them are hiking Kilimanjaro and others are just in nursing homes. Why is there such disparity? And I want to be in the Kilimanjaro camp. And there are no guarantees in life other than death. And life happens. We get diseases. We have accidents. We have things that we didn't plan for, even when we do our best. But I believe that we can design our 80-year-old self. So even if the shit does hit the fan, we at least have a better chance of recovery. And that's what I want to do now to prepare myself. But the best part, it's that along the way, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, if I'm lucky, we can improve our quality of life. So it's not just playing a game right now so that we're in a good condition when we're 80, but all throughout this course, this life course over the next 30 years, more or less, we will have a better quality of life. And it's worth it. I don't think we're chasing youth here. It's not about being 20 again. It's more about what do you want? Okay. And that's what you got to figure out. And today's episode is where I share my goals and what I want to get out of these next 30, 40, 50 years. How am I going to get there? Because disease doesn't start at 80. We may get diagnosed at that time with osteoporosis, heart disease, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, whatever disease of aging. But those diseases didn't start at the diagnosis. They started decades ago. And it starts now in perimenopause and menopause, in early menopause particularly. It's in our 40s and 50s. So what we do today is literally writing the story of our future selves. And I don't see menopause as a decline. I see it, and I'm not denying it, that we're going to change, and we are changing. We have changed. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But what I do see is that we have an opportunity right now to get an upgrade, a reset. And it's honestly one of the best chances we have to change our trajectory over the next 30 years. And I'm kind of already ahead of the game with most people with 2 hip replacements. Like, that's a serious upgrade that has completely changed my life. And we have so much more coming. This episode is basically a continuation of an Instagram reel that I just posted, and it's got over 600,000 views now. So that gives me a signal that you want to hear more. And that little field where I get to write the 17 things that I do now to protect my future self is pretty small, and I can't really explain myself. And there's so many more than 17. I think today we're talking more about 20, it's closer to 20, 25, something like that. So in order to protect my 80-year-old self, I really need to work backwards from the life that I really want. And so I start by asking myself, what do I want my 80-year-old self to be like? You can ask yourself that too. Just imagine what she will be like. Or maybe you have an 80-year-old in your life and you say, I want to be like her. I want her to be strong. I want her to be independent, and independent not only physically, but emotionally, financially, and spiritually. And I don't want her to be a burden on her kids. I want them to actually look forward to having her around. And if she gets sick or has an accident, I want her to bounce back quickly. So I work backwards from that vision. So it's going to take a lot of work, and it's just kind of the long game. So let's get started. What are the things that I do today as a 55-year-old in order to protect my 80-year-old self? I do hard things, and they're not fun sometimes. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but I get uncomfortable. I lift heavy weights. If you ever watch me in a gym, I'm literally grunting. It sounds like I'm pushing out a baby. And I have a trainer. I'm lucky to have resources to do that. Well, also in Portugal, it's pretty cheap. Have somebody to do that, help you with that. But if I didn't have that person there pushing me, I wouldn't be pushing as hard. I also join classes. I do HIIT classes. So I work on my cardiovascular health, my heart health. And I know that if I'm in a class, that trainer's going to push me harder, or just being around other people who are also pushing it, I'm more motivated to work hard. I also recover, I stretch, I do balance, I work on my agility, mobility. These are all things that if I don't want to have a fall and a fracture, then I better not fall. I better have good balance. I better have good agility. I dance. That works my brain. I also learn languages. That's really hard too. I like to learn and understand new technology. I'm not afraid of it. When ChatGPT came out, I was all over it, trying to understand how this works. I have difficult conversations. I hate them, but I know that's going to push me forward and it'll be better for me. I am building a business. This is for my financial health, because if I want to live to 100, well, I better have some money for that. You need money to probably go to the doctor or get some new treatments or things like that. If you want to travel the world, whatever it is, you need money. So I got to build a business, and that's really hard, but I am learning new things all the time. And so I'm building my muscles, my bones, my brains, and my bank account. Like, all of these things are hard. Getting out of that comfort zone. So I like this phrase that says, seek discomfort. And it doesn't mean like you're always uncomfortable, but when you get a little too comfortable, then things kind of settle in. And if you like comfort, that's great for you. But I know for me, for my goals, I need to get a little bit uncomfortable. So the next one is recover. Okay, I may lift heavy things and go to the gym, but I need time to recover. Otherwise, you break. And I don't want that. So I will take days off to just walk or stretch, do a little bit of yoga. I want to be in nature. And when my body says no, I actually listen to it now, whereas I didn't so much before. So I think it's when you get older and wiser, you have more experience with this body that you're living in, you know what it needs and what it doesn't need. And so the game for me is to actually listen to it. The next thing is I can say no. Now, menopause has made it so much easier to prioritize myself, and I'm really leaning into that. And I always joke with my husband that I love menopause. Like, I feel so much more empowered. I'm not the people pleaser anymore. Kids are grown up. They're out of the house. I know what I want now. It's a little easier for me. Creating boundaries, I had such a hard time. And I don't think I even realized that there were boundaries. I just was going through life. I can't complain. It wasn't so bad. I never felt, so suppressed and I got to do this. I just don't think I really knew. Now I know. So I think that's really important for my future self, because that as I go through these next 30 years, doing the things that I think are important to me, it's really important to know how to set boundaries and say no. The next thing is I nurture my Meno 5. That means my Meno besties or my friends. Who's important to me? Because you are the average of your 5 closest friends. Who are the people that are around you? So if they're smokers, you're likely to be a smoker. If they're positive, you're likely to be positive. If they're rich, you're likely to be rich. So I believe that it's important that I choose my friends wisely. And relationships can be really a longevity lifeline. The Harvard study of adult development, which I quote all the time, is after 70, 75 years of research, and it's ongoing. So there's still research going on. They looked at people in their biomarkers. They had health questionnaires. They looked at their mental health and so many things. And it wasn't so much their diet and exercise or that they didn't smoke that determined how long and happy they'll live. It was the having strong relationships. It's really important. And that affects everything else downstream. You could have all the money in the world and all the fame, but your relationships are not going to be, are a little bit more important than that. So nurture your network is what I like to say. And I'm nurturing my 5 closest friends. The next thing I do are my morning rituals. It's so simple. I wrote it on the Instagram reel: wake, water, walk, sun, breathe, eat, repeat. Right? It's very simple. The first thing I do when I wake up, I drink some water. And that's hydration. It's really good for my brain. It's good for my cells. It's good for so many other things. It makes me alert and it gets the water in, right? I've been sleeping for the last 7-8 hours. So you are dehydrated. And if you are a mouth breather, well, then you're probably more dehydrated than you need to be. So after you walk, drink some water, get outside in the sun and go for a walk. It's so simple. I try to do that within an hour of waking, or actually usually it comes in about within 30 minutes of waking. And then I get some sun. I usually do my breath work at some point in the morning, sometimes while I watch a sunrise. Sometimes it's just in bed. It depends. But I work on breath work. I did my certification with the Oxygen Advantage. Love that program. Taught me functional breathing. I teach it to the women in my biohacking menopause support group. It's such a simple tool. It's free and it has quite a big impact on how you age. And then I eat something and then I repeat it. These are my morning rituals. It's the same thing over and over again. Takes me a good 4 hours. Now, if I had small kids or I didn't have time, then I just shorten all of this, right? I can extend it because my kids are gone. I don't have parents anymore that I care for. I'm an orphan. and so I have the time and I can, so I use it for my 80-year-old self. Now, the next thing I do is my evening rituals as well. So I talked about morning rituals. In the Instagram post, I didn't talk about evening rituals. There's just no space for that. But I think the evening rituals are really important because that sets you up for the morning rituals. You're probably going, how in the world can you watch a sunrise? Or that happens at 6:30 and I go to bed at midnight or 2 a.m. Well, then you got to prioritize sleep. I'm a total sleep Nazi. I love my Oura Ring. I love getting crowns. I love the gamification of things. I love looking at my scores. It helps me. It motivates me to get to bed and to prioritize the sleep. And the part of the ritual is, well, I've got the Oura Ring ringing and saying, hey, you got to wind down. It's like your mom tapping your shoulder, get ready for bed. And then I make my room like a spa. If you walk into my room, I set it up. So I'm brushing my teeth and washing my face. I've got the red light in there. So the room is dark, but has this red light glow. I use a diffuser. So I put in lavender. That's my favorite. It makes me feel calm. It makes me feel relaxed. And it also reminds me of a spa. So my brain goes, oh, I recognize this smell. You kind of fell asleep during that massage last time you had one. So I have the red light. I've got the diffuser with this lavender scent. I make the room cool. My husband doesn't like that, but I do it. I do it for me, but I sleep better. And he doesn't realize he sleeps better when it's cooler as well. And what else do I do? And I have music playing in the background. I just go to Spotify and just write spa, okay, or sleep. And you have just these sounds, these really calming, relaxing sounds. And then I have my skincare routine and I take my time and I wash my face and brush my teeth, and then I stop the electronics. Well, I've done that before I even walked in the room. And if you struggle with electronics, if you're scrolling in bed, please stop that. It's not going to help you with your sleep, and it's not going to help you with your morning routine either. So just put it to bed. I have my phone sleeping in a different room. It's just there. It's automatic. And then I do a little bit of breath work and stretching in the bed. And that really helps me wind down. So that's my ritual. And of course, my rituals change all the time. The morning and the evening ones change depending on the season, depending where I'm at. I'm a recovering nomad. I still travel. I'm still in different places, but I do like to keep those routines more or less stable, even when I travel. And I don't beat myself up if they're not perfect. It's okay. It's what you do on a regular basis, not once in a while, that counts. The next thing I do is I eat adequately. And what does that mean? Because I am diet agnostic. I've seen all people thrive in different kinds of diets, and there's so many different things. So eat appropriately for you, whatever that is. I don't know if you have allergies. I don't know if you are trying to heal something. I don't know if you're training or not training. Everyone's a little bit different. So what I try to do is maintain a healthy body weight. And whatever that means to you, right? You can even Google this and see somebody my age, what is a weight. And I don't like to look just at weight. I like to look at muscle and at fat percentages. And you can also look at that as well. But you know when your clothes are fitting right. You know when you feel good. That's your healthy body weight. Don't need a bunch of tools for this. And regulate your blood sugar. That's part of this eating adequately, whatever that is. Some people are insulin resistant. Some people aren't. But generally, we want our blood sugar to be stable, more or less. And again, that you'll have to study that and understand what that is. I like to use a continuous glucose monitor from time to time to understand my body, how it reacts to foods, to stress, to sleep, to exercise. And it changes too over the years. So just because you've done it once, you go, okay, I know. Well, no, why don't you do it again? Because it's still information and our body is constantly evolving. So it's really good information. I like doing it. So I eat adequate protein. I eat adequate fats and carbs and fiber and calories. I try to get whatever it is that I need in my body. I eat low sugar. I eat sugar, But I don't eat lots of it, but it comes in my diet either as fruit or if I'm out and I eat something in a restaurant, it just happens. And I adjust things when I need to. So I know that as the years go by, we have different needs. And I supplement if I need it. I'm always testing and seeing where I'm at. And I take a supplement, test again, see where I'm at. I don't take GLP-1s. These are the weight loss peptides. So far, so good. Everything's working. I'm not against them. I think if you need them, great. It'll help regulate blood sugar, maintain healthy body weight. And you got to eat when you're on those things too. And the next thing I try to do to protect my 80-year-old self is to let go. I know one day I'm going to die. Everything is temporary. Letting go of the little things particularly mean that I can actually enjoy the moment while it's here. That's pretty important to me because as we get closer to death, there's this theory called the socio-emotional selectivity theory. We become more selective about who we spend time with and what we do in our lives. And so letting go is part of that plan, is to enjoy the moment. If you've ever spoken to anyone in their 80s or 90s, I ask them very often, well, do you have any regrets? Is there anything that you tell your younger self? And they always say, don't stress as much, which is really hard not to, and let go. I remember I interviewed this woman when she was probably 94 or more or less, and she said, everything just turns out anyways. Well, you got to 95 or whatever it was, then yes, you can look back and say that. But if you can have that mentality, that really is quite helpful, and try to enjoy the moment because life does happen quickly. And the next thing I do is I drink water, plain or with essential amino acids or creatine or electrolytes, herbs. I've just started adding ketones. Maybe I'll have some lemon, whatever it is, it all counts. Getting these liquids in me is part of my plan to protect my 80-year-old self. And if you struggle with any of the things that I said, you can drop some lemon in there. Essential amino acids, sometimes they have these flavors in there. So use something that makes you drink water a little bit more. And I don't care if it has a little bit of sugar in there because you need it. But if you have, we're not talking about Diet Coke. We're talking about, I don't know, maybe you put a little sugar or honey in your iced tea. Again, all within range to keep your blood sugar regulated. And there's so many hacks to that as well. So we won't talk about that now, but drink more water. The other things I do are I don't have risky behaviors. In gerontology, we call risky behaviors things like alcohol, overeating, and smoking. That's pretty easy for me. I think these are accelerated aging behaviors. I don't like alcohol. I don't want to say I don't like alcohol. When I turned 50, I gave up. I was like, I really tried to appreciate wine and be a part of the party. But at that 50, I was like, okay, I give up. I just can't. I just don't like it. But if for some reason I felt like having a glass of wine, I guess I would have probably a couple of sips, never drink the whole thing. It happens a couple times a year. I don't know. It's just not attracting me. But sometimes you get in situations and you're like, okay, I'll have a couple of sips and whatever. But it's not something that's constant in my life. Overeating as well usually doesn't happen. And if it does, it's quite rare, and I'm not worried about it because that's not what I do all the time. And smoking as well. I don't smoke, not attracted to it, don't really like it. So that's why some of these things are quite easy for me. But obesity is the number one most modifiable risk factor of all diseases of aging. So if you're concerned about your 80-year-old self and you're hanging on the obese side, then it's worth looking onto things that will help you lose that weight, even if it's a GLP-1s. I think this is where this kind of medication is made just for you. So control that. And alcohol and smoking is other modifiable risk factors that will lower our risk if we just change some of these behaviors. And I know it's not easy, especially if you're an alcoholic or you're a smoker. It is so hard. And I think if you're addicted to food, that's got to be way harder than alcohol, drugs, and smoking. I didn't put drugs in there. That's another risky behavior. I don't do drugs either. But way harder because you have to eat every day. And you have to look at that fridge every day. And so I think it's a little easier if you can maybe not have alcohol in the house. It doesn't mean it's not difficult, but I think it's much harder for people who have an eating disorder or need to overcome that. And I'm not a specialist in this, so please don't send me a hate mail. I'm admitting, but try to control that. Those are risky behaviors. The next thing I do to protect my future self is I take hormones. I am optimizing my hormones. Actually, I take bio or body identical hormones. And this is something I plan to do for the rest of my life until I find out that maybe it's not good for me for some reason. But for now, it seems like it's a good plan. I test, I measure, I assess my hormones. I adjust them when I need it. And there's new research coming out all the time on different hormones. I take estradiol, I take estriol, I take testosterone, I take progesterone. So that's what I'm on right now. DHEA sometimes vaginally. I'm always switching things around, but those are the basics. And that's how I'm going to hopefully help protect my bones, my brain, my heart, all these things. No guarantees, but at least I try. And then I get some vitamin J. That's vitamin joy. I look for joy every single day, whether it's a sunset or laughing with a friend, a cup of tea, or progressing towards my goals. All of these things bring me happiness and joy. And I think these are really important little things that we can do every single day. And that counts. That really counts. And the other thing, I talked a little bit about sleep, but really sleep, prioritize your sleep. Try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time. This is what I do. I keep the room cool, I keep it comfortable, and I try not to set an alarm. Well, I don't set alarms, but if you have something I really need to go to, I set an alarm. But right now, my life in Portugal is where my timeline, all my work starts usually after 12 or 1 p.m. in terms of meetings and recordings and things like that, usually, unless I have somebody in Australia, they're ahead of me. But mostly I have my mornings to myself. And so I don't need to set an alarm. But if you do, that's no problem. Just make sure that you are getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Most people will agree that's what you need. There are very few night owls, even though you may call yourself one. Please try to shift that. Shifting your circadian rhythm is so important. That's your sleep-wake cycle in order to protect your future self. The other thing I do when I sleep, when I train, when I'm doing my morning rituals, my evening rituals, is I breathe. I switched from being a mouth breather to a nasal breather or nose breather. So our nose is this incredible tool for breathing. It's a filtration system to block pathogens. It filters the air. It's designed for breathing. Our mouths are designed for talking, for eating, maybe a few other things, kissing, but it's our nose that's meant for breathing. And most of us are mouth breathers. And that's just the way we grew up. And we want to train our bodies and our faces to, keep our mouth closed and try to breathe through the nose as much as possible. And it's really hard when you're running or trying to train or you're lifting a heavy weight. So try to do it as much as I can. It's not always easy, but if you have trouble sleeping with your mouth closed, and it's hard to control that. You don't really know. You only know if you wake up with your mouth really dry. If you have a dry mouth, you're probably breathing through your nose. If you're snoring, you're probably breathing through your mouth. So this is where we want to get mouth tape. I know it's weird, not very sexy, but it is so beneficial. It helps so much. So I wear mouth tape at night. My husband wears it. I make him wear it because he snores if he doesn't. And then we're all getting a much better night's sleep. And I also practice breath work if I'm in nature. This is my spiritual practice. I don't have a religious faith that I follow. My parents didn't give me a religious education. But if you have a faith, keep going. It's shown to be geroprotective. You may live longer and better and happier because of it. So if you go to church or temple, whatever you do, keep that faith. It's very beneficial for aging. The next thing I do is I try to stay positive. I don't try to say I am positive. I am a positive person. I don't need to try. I just am. Of course, I can be negative too, but my trait leans towards positivity. So do whatever it takes to see the silver lining or the glass half full. This is where I'm at, and most of my life have been like that. Life is just too short for anything else. If you struggle with positivity, there are so many little tools that you can do and games that you can use to practice positivity. Just get your ChatGPT to work with you. The other thing you can do, or at least you can do, I do. This is all about the things I do. And it's not an exhaustive list. There are so many things that you can do to slow aging or to protect your 80-year-old self. But these are just the things that I do. I go outside regularly. I'm outside 3 times a day at least. And weekends, I'm out there a little bit more. And the way I get it is I eat all my meals outdoors. I eat 3 meals a day. I have all of them outside now. In the wintertime, it's harder to get that third one in because it gets dark, but 3 times a day is usually what I do. I run errands. I live in a small Portuguese fishing village. I don't have a car right now. I don't have my driver's license right now. And I'm living perfectly fine without it because everything's a 2-minute, 7-minute walk to get to all the things I need. It's quite a lovely lifestyle. I'm really enjoying this. So that's how I get outside all the time. But I wear sunscreen on my face. It gets an SPF 50 with the PA++++. 4 pluses is where I go for. And I do it every day. It's the first thing I do when I do my skincare routine in the morning. Well, it's the last thing I put on my face. And my 80-year-old self may just have to accept some crepey arms and legs because I don't cover those all the time because there are benefits to getting this. Unless I'm outdoors for more than, say, 30 minutes, I will put it on my legs and my arms. But I do my chest, my neck, and my face, and my hands. So that's where I'm using sunscreen to protect the face and sun damage and possibly melanoma when I get to 80. And I may change my mind about the sunscreen on my arms and my legs. I interviewed, what's her name? I can't remember her name right now, but she's a New York City dermatologist, Dr. Ellen Marmor, who's all about skin cancer and melanoma and all these things. And she said women get skin cancer most often on the backs of their legs. So if you're not putting sunscreen on the backs of your legs, you're more likely to get that. So I may change my mind. I know the sun is so powerful. That's one of my hacks is to get outside, get into the daylight, get into some sunlight. Now it's just for me a game, a balance of how do I protect my skin from sun damage and how do I get the benefits of the sun. And I don't want wrinkles, or at least I like to delay them or make them smaller or less visible. Will happen, and I'll have to accept them. But if I can control that, I will certainly try. And the last couple of things I do, I'm a lifelong learner. This is, in gerontology, we discuss this a lot. This is really important for the brain. And for many other things too, but generally the brain. I love learning languages. I just learned Portuguese. That's my 7th language. It's not easy. There's a lot of discomfort there, but I know that my goal is to get fluent and to get fluid at least with that. So I feel like now I can say, because I make mistakes, but it's much more fluid now. So I get the languages in wherever I go. If I'm going to live in somewhere else, that's the first thing I do. I've lived in 8 countries. And so if this is 7 languages, the 8th one is Indonesian. And I used to speak it evidently as a child, but I don't remember it. So wherever I live, that's the first thing I do is get the language down. Your experiences will be so much different. I should do a whole podcast on learning languages. If you want that, please tell me and I'll put one out there. I like researching. I like taking courses. I like learning how to dance. I like new hobbies. I like traveling, all these things. I get uncomfortable in many of these things. Of course, I was so uncomfortable today. I wasn't that uncomfortable, but I was a little uncomfortable, let's say. And I just took my first dance class after my hip replacements. And I wasn't sure what I was going to. It said ballet and contemporary. I am not a ballet dancer. I like the hip hop, the pop, the like lady style, like those videos. I like that kind of stuff. Contemporary, I can handle as well. I like that. But it was a ballet. And I know it's probably good for me. But I was in there. There were 5 girls. They were probably in their 40s, 50s, more or less. And so it was an adult class. They're much better than me. I am a little uncomfortable, but I realized that, wow, my big toe is so stiff. And I know that if I go to these classes regularly, I'll be able to help that. And I will learn something. It was hard to follow all the steps. Did ballet a little bit before, so I have some knowledge, but to remember all the pliés and all this, where your toes go. And then my brain was on fire, but I know it was so good for my brain. And it was good for the social factor. I get to meet new people. There's something I learned. And that is really important for my future self. She's going to thank me a lot. So I'm building my cognitive reserve. And the other thing I'm learning a lot in the last several years is business. I was never a business person. Now I have a business. And how do I make money? How do I protect the bank account of my future 80-year-old self? And that means I have to do stuff now and not when I'm 80. I'm not going to start there, although there are plenty of 80-year-olds I know who are got some pretty jammin' Instagram accounts. I'm like, wow, promoting products. I'm like, God, that's amazing. So it's possible. I don't want to say it's not possible, but it's better I start now. The other things I do is I test, I measure, and I assess. I love looking under the hood and catching any kind of silent killers before it's too late. That's osteoporosis. I wouldn't know I have it until you get a fracture. I take labs. I do monitors, trackers, scans. They all tell me something that I just can't see on my own. And because we don't hear our bones getting brittle, we don't feel our arteries building plaque until it's too late. So that's part of my game plan over the next 30 years is to continue to see if I see a decline, there's going to be some decline, but if it's going faster than usual, or if it's a decline that I can shift and change the trajectory, well, I'm going to do my darn best to try to change that trajectory so that I protect my future self. And the last thing I do is I give and I receive love. I do my best. I tell people I love them now, not at their funeral. It's something that it's not hard. It's not so hard for me. I have my besties, my close friends, the people I do love. I write them text messages or I call them. I tell them I love them. My kids, of course, my husband, of course. But for me, it's important. It's important to tell them. I lost my best friend when 2017, and she died, and I had to speak at her funeral. It was one of the hardest things I ever done. But one thing I was really happy is that I have told her so many times how much I love her, so many love notes that I gave her, she gave me. So I think that was really important. I'm glad that not only I told her in person, but I didn't have to just keep it and have it all out at the funeral. So learn how to give and learn how to receive love. I think that's important. So that's it. Those are just some of the things that I do. There's so many more things. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want. And I show in my stories all the little things that I do. Hopefully it's inspiring. I think of aging as something that I'm designing, not just surviving. I'm not chasing youth. I'm not trying to be 20 again. I'm just trying to build a strong, capable, and a healthy future self so that I can take care of myself as best as I possibly can. My 80-year-old self really is counting on those decisions that I make today, right now. You may have a completely different goal and a totally different plan, and that's okay. You do you. There is no moral judgment here. And if you need some support with some of your goals, then why don't you join me in the private menopause support group, Biohacking Menopause. It's a wonderful group of women who we all have different goals and different needs, but we are so supportive of each other. I have a link to that in the show notes. And if you like this episode, please share it with somebody who needs to hear it or get inspired or maybe get some ideas on how to protect her future self. Thank you so much for being here with me. I wouldn't be here without you. I so appreciate you. And I hope to see you again next time. So have a good day, good night, good morning, wherever you're at.